Hey everybody, so we just talked about a very, very bad team in the Detroit Red Wings. Now I want to talk about a team that is having a very, very good season so far and certainly looks like a playoff team in the Eastern Conference, and that is the Philadelphia Flyers. Before we get into the video, I just quickly want to remind everyone, please hit that thumbs up button and drop a like. It greatly helps out the channel and is much appreciated. And if you're new and happen to be watching, please hit that subscribe button and follow along for all my hockey content this season and all year round. So, the Philadelphia Flyers, currently sitting in third place in the Metropolitan Division behind Washington and the New York Islanders, have played 29 games this season. They have a record of 16-8-5 for 37 points. Been a really good home team on the year, 9-2-4 on home ice this season, 7-6-1 on the road. So, still over 500 on the road, but very, very strong at home. And overall, Philly's just having a strong bounce-back season after the disaster that was last year. You look at 92 goals for, 82 goals against. That gives them a goal differential of plus 10, which in the years that Philly is bad, it's usually the defense and giving up goals that ends up hurting them and really killing their season. The years that they're good, they get that goals against down, and they've done that this year. Goals against are down, plus 10 goal differential. It's been a solid season so far for Philadelphia. And, you look at this team and what a disaster last season was. And we've really seen kind of an alternating year-to-year thing with Philly, where one year they're good and they make the playoffs, and then they're bad the next year, and then they're good again, and then they're bad the next year. And you go back 2 years ago, they made the playoffs. They lost to Pittsburgh in the first round, but they were a good team that year. Then last season was an absolute disaster from the get-go. Everything went wrong that could. They just had an abysmal season. And they bounced back this year, and they look good again, and they look like a good team. And if you remember at the beginning of the season when I did my season previews and when I did my season predictions, I talked about Philly being a team that I just had no clue which way they would go. They could literally be one of the best teams in the East. They have the roster for it. They have the talent there for it. Or they could completely fall flat on their face again like they did last season and end up near the bottom of the division. But so far, it's been good for Philly. I think this is going to continue. I think this is a legitimately good team. When you look at their roster, they have a good mix of young players like Travis Konechny, Ivan Provorov on the back end, Oscar Lindblom, a good young goal scorer, and veteran guys like Jakub Voracek, Claude Giroux, Matt Niskanen, guys like that. They have got a good mix of youth and young guys. They have a very talented roster. They never should have been as bad as they were last year. Unfortunately, that's the way it went last season for them. But if you're a Flyers fan, you've got to be pretty happy with how this team looks this year. And, they're 3 points behind the Islanders right now. I don't see them catching either New York or Washington, but I think they very much are a playoff team. I think they could very well finish third in the division right where they are now. They might drop to a wild card spot. Carolina and Pittsburgh are kind of right there behind them, but overall, I think they're going to make the playoffs. And it's certainly been a much better year for Philly than it was last season. And as much as I'm not a huge Alain Vigneault fan as a coach, I think he's done a good job with this team. And he's obviously brought something to the table that the coaching staff last year was not, and really helped them out. And, they didn't make a ton of changes this offseason. Obviously, they brought in Kevin Hayes was their big signing. They traded for Matt Niskanen. I think that Matt Niskanen move is really, really underrated. Also, they added Justin Braun into the mix on the back end. So they made some changes to their defense. They brought in Kevin Hayes to be the second line center. And so far, things are clicking pretty well for this team. Hayes isn't having a particularly great year or anything like that, but he's got 8 goals and 14 points. Travis Konechny is really leading the way and showing himself to be a great leader and young leader on this team. He's got 27 points in 29 games, plays with, a lot of grit and tenacity. He's a high effort player. One of my favorite young players in the league, honestly. And he's having a great season this year. Looks like he could potentially get to 30 goals possibly, and he's got, 27, almost a point per game. He could potentially be looking at a 70 to 80 point season this year in Philadelphia. Sean Couturier is also having a good year. Couturier is not an old guy at this point by any stretch, but he's been around so long now that he kind of falls under the veteran category for this team. He's got 22 points. Voracek having a nice season. 21 points in 29 games for Jake Voracek, and he's needed this because last year was not a good year for him. Claude Giroux's got 20 points. Giroux is starting to slow down a little bit. I think the 90, 100 point seasons are gone for Claude Giroux. He's just not that, he's getting older. He's not that player anymore, but he still can certainly give you, 70 points on a season, and he's got 20 so far this year, 9 goals and 11 assists. Oscar Lindblom's got 11 goals, so he's having a good year goal scoring wise. Ivan Provorov's got 18 points from the back end. Matt Niskanen's got 13 points from the back end. Those two have really led the way defensively, or as far as offense from the back end goes. They've got some good, defensive defensemen there as well. Travis Sanheim's having a pretty good season. Justin Braun, not a big point producer, but a solid veteran on the back end. Things are going well for Philadelphia so far, and I think that this is more indicative of the team that Philadelphia should be than what they were last year. Last year was just really bad across the board. Haven't even talked about the goaltending yet, and I'm about to get to that. Carter Hart's been fantastic. Carter Hart has been absolutely fantastic. He is the franchise goalie that Philly has been waiting 25 years for. It's been a long time coming for the Flyers. They've never really seemed to find that number one franchise guy, and it's kind of been goaltending by committee year to year, different guys for them, really for like the past 20-25 years. Carter Hart is the guy. This guy is very good. He's still super young. It's only his first full season. But he looks ready now and to be the guy for the future. And I hope it works out for him. I hope it works out for the Flyers, because they're going to be a dangerous team as long as they get the goaltending. That's been an issue over the years, though. But I really think Carter Hart is the guy. He's for real. And Brian Elliott's been a good backup. Brian Elliott certainly has flaws. I don't think he's a starter anymore at the NHL level. But he's been a solid backup this season for Philly, and he's played well when they've needed him to play well. So overall, things are just going much better for the Flyers this year. You've got to be happy if you're a Flyers fan. I think they're without a doubt a playoff team. How they do in the playoffs, we'll see. It's probably largely going to depend on how they play. If they get stuck playing Washington in the first round, that's probably going to suck for them. But they're certainly doing better than they did last year. I think they're a legitimate good team in the Eastern Conference. I think they're a legitimate playoff team, and I'm excited to see what they do the rest of the year. Hopefully I'm not jinxing them with this video, but I don't think I am. I think this is a good team, and they've impressed me this year with the bounce back from what they looked like last season. So with that, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description below. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon and merchandise store are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.